Congressman. It doesn't indicate a district. Bill?
My question is about impact fees. The very first city council hired a consultant, studied impact fees, and then technical, never did a thing. You've all talked about the $7 million lawsuit with DeKalb County where we might get some parks money if we can ever settle that lawsuit. There are 6,000 or so multifamily units that are entitled to be built, that were entitled before the city was formed. We can't take away that entitlement. Impact fees of $1,000 a unit, for example, would raise $6 million. My question for you is, if you're elected, will you make sure that impact fees are put in place before those units are built? Afterwards would do no good.
Mr. Eames, you'll respond first.
Test. I don't know that, I certainly wouldn't sit up here and say that I will ensure that impact fees will be imposed, because if elected, I'll only need one vote. Personally, as a homeowner who's lived here for 18 years in the same house in Dunwoody North, I think it's kind of unfair for developers to come in and build a lot of new apartments or houses or whatever, and that we all have to share in the expense of supporting the money being spent on the roads and other infrastructure. So personally, I'm in favor of impact fees. I would be curious to look at the history and see why it always kind of disappears. I suspect the developers have some say in that somehow. The developers seem to get quite a voice here in Dunwoody, and I think all around the country a lot of times, because obviously they have a lot more pull than individual citizens. But I think, if the residents of District 3 think that that's a very important thing to do, then I will certainly raise that issue, because I personally think it's a question that needs to be answered.
Respond next.
Again, this is an easy one for me because I've already been on record. I've been part of the councils that keep considering it and considering it again. I consider impact fees another tax, and I have been against impact fees. I think it's a tax on development. One limited exception, and that's an impact fee on residential units in the PCID to fund a park. Theory being, if you have heavy, dense development, and the property owner's got the right to put it in, can flood a certain area, can flood the PCID with residential units, and there's no parks over there. The question is, where are you going to go to walk your dog, kind of thing. But impact fees, I'm against. I would support an impact fee on residential units only in the PCID, only fund the park. And I've been consistent from day one on that.
Timekeepers is ready. Mr. Davis, your question.
Yes, I am in favor of impact fees on properties that have been are built for massive units, and also I am in favor of this unit to have some environmental code regulation, where they need to build something allowing the green to be around, so make it difficult. If they don't want to comply with that, so don't build here in Dunwoody. That's the only thing that I can say about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. The question goes to Mr. Shelton.
I cannot guarantee impact fees. I can tell you I will do everything in my power to get them. Because if we don't, then it's a tax on us. Because the roads are gonna be impacted, the sewers are gonna be impacted, all of the sidewalk, everything these people are gonna use impacts us, whether it's an apartment or a 30-story building. You're gonna bring thousands of people in, and they haven't had to do a thing to contribute to Dunwoody. So why shouldn't they? The most desirable area in Atlanta right now, one of the most, is right here in Dunwoody. So if they want to be here, I'm sure the impact fee will factor in and they'll still make money. So the real issue is, for me, is not the whether we will or won't, but I don't think we should assign the impact fees to any one thing. I do think that we should try to keep the sewers and streets and all of that, use some of that money. But that then frees up money from the city budget that can be applied to schools. Okay, because when we approve these projects, you cannot put an impact fee for schools, that's illegal. But you can free money up from the budget when you fix other things with these impact fees. So that's why I'm for it on everything. Because they're coming into our area, they should have to, just like when you join a country club, you have to pay. And that's because all the other members have been keeping it up, and then you pay your regular dues. Well, I say they should pay impact fees.
Mr. Westside. Timekeepers, you ready?
Yes. This is about property rights. This is the first time I've actually heard candidates come out for impact fees. I've gone to other candidates' forums before, and every time I've heard candidates come out, they've come out against impact fees. And the reason why is what Doug said, is it's a tax. It's a tax on the property owner. Now, I actually agree with what Doug said. I mean, if we focus on having a impact fee that just affects the residential homes just in the PCID, I think that could be entertaining. I would like to see that before I say, hey, I'm all in for it, but I'm against having a tax, and I'm against impact fees in general because they don't go to our schools. And that's really where we need impact fees. And as Henley said, that currently we don't do impact fees to offset our schools. So when new homes are built, the tax doesn't go to our schools, and that's a shame. And that's something that needs to take place down in the legislation, and I don't know if that will ever happen. But, you know, impact fees will affect growth. There are 6,000 apartments, as was stated, that are coming in. As a council person, I actually want to work to mitigate the impact, because they're probably not going to come back with the same plan. And I want to mitigate what changes they have to reduce the amount of apartments that come into our community, because it does affect our schools.
Shelton will both be given a 30-minute rebuttal. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30-second rebuttal, if you would like, for count your name and choose. First, Mr. Thompson, 30 seconds, followed by Mr. Shelton.
Get them done.
You can decline. Keepers, you ready?
Again, impact fees, I've always thought as an additional tax. Impact fees, I've always considered as an additional tax, and I made a promise when I came in that I wouldn't have any new taxes that I would put on the citizens. And you can call it an impact fee, but it's a tax on development, and I'm just not going to go there. Again, with the one limited exception that we've got from High Street project, which could possibly bring some residential units over the PCI.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Shelton, 30 seconds.
Well, obviously, I told you I'm for it, and I am. I would not do it on the R100s. That where you're developing a neighborhood, I think they already have to pay hookup fees and whatever. But they had no problem putting tacky fees on us, and they can call it a fee, but it's a tax. And you go out and look at that website, you will see $50 to replace a hot water heater. And it has to be 50 gallons. And it's there, it's been charged. There's people in this audience right now that have had that. So there are taxes, they're just not always front door. the impact fees,
Thank you, Mr.
people
Schultz.
know up front.
Mr. Mercer. I think you're ready.